When and why have you decided to implement biodynamics?
The more you age, the more you believe in fate. And you realize that you take in your past life many decisions which finally you don't understand. You wake up in the morning, you have an idea. Where does it come from? You know, so suddenly, yes, I have this idea. Well, this happened during the sleep, and you don't know what happened during the sleep. So, looking backward, I am born in a family where nature was important, not in the way which is understood today, because it was mainly fishing, shooting. Today it's a very bad thing, but it gave me a great possibility to understand more in-depth nature. And then I moved to Columbia University. Why, I don't know. You had to do something. You are young, you know that you have to do something. Why do you do it? With that MBA of Columbia, you are considered as a great genius. I never thought I was a great genius. And then I did my I didn't want to do my military service. I don't know if you can say that today, but I really didn't want to do it. And I could do it in the Ministry of Finance of Quebec. Because of that diploma, for a year and a half, we had a nice life doing absolutely nothing. This is life. Then when I joined Morgan Guarantee, it's interesting, I was in charge of advising investment in the chemical industry. I was very strongly supporting the company which was creating the Roundup. This is funny too. I thought it was a huge potential for profit, which was true, but I didn't see the other side, which was very bad. And after 4 years, not knowing why, I received a phone call because I was 2 years in New York, 2 years in London. I received a phone call saying that I had a promotion. You know, they are very well organized in promotion, and you have one more secretary. This is a big blah blah, but when you are young, you don't know. Said, Nicolas, Nick, you have been promoted. Yes, good, I'm leaving the company. No, but you didn't understand me. Yes, I'm just leaving the company. Couldn't do it anymore. Why, I don't know. Then I returned on the vineyard, which was run at a loss, and the loss was paid by my father, who was a surgeon, and I didn't care. Coming back with my wife in the place where I lived for 30 years, the old monastery of the monks, it was very poor conditions. I told my wife, we won't have electricity. Of course, we will have electricity, but I didn't want it. And after a year, I had the visit of a guy advising weed killers. All this was terribly well organized from the chemical industry, but you are young and you don't know. And I really realized that we were destroying the soil, destroying the vines. So I stopped it, and then I came across a guy who has been beginning biodynamic called François Boucher, close by, on a vineyard, Château Gaillard. And 2 or 3 of us, sometimes 5, were meeting once a week. And with time, and life is very well organized secretly, with time, I met a guy called Xavier Florin. This sort of rare person who has the capacity to see everything which is behind matter. So you could walk 10 meters, and he would show you a plant that you would not even look at, you know, small to small. Look what is the behavior of the, look how the flower is coming out. You can wonder what is the root doing? How does it express itself? Is it horizontally, vertically? It was a huge help. To move more in depth into biodynamics, which is still today often understood too much through your mind, through your neurons, but not enough in depth. And then life is going on. I turned the vineyards in biodynamics. Beginning is very difficult. You don't know what to do.
This is what I'm going to ask you. When you started changing the...
Yeah, I started
you adopted biodynamic instead of organic. You went to biodynamic. It was like a leap of faith.
Well, yes and no, because one has to realize that up to the end of the 70s, many people were organic without knowing. You know, weed killers didn't exist. The treatment were copper and sulfur. That was more or less a bit of chemical fertilizer, but not much. So that was fine. Moving into biodynamics itself is difficult because you have several biodynamic preparations. At the beginning, you don't understand them in depth. Second thing, you don't understand your vineyard in depth. It takes time to move to the change of the seasons, how the vine is reacting. Finally, there is another teaching behind the official teaching. And this is where this chemical industry was terribly nocive, in the sense that many people who moved into weed killers were doing that in good faith. They thought it was a real progress. You know, they explained, I remember a guy coming at home, Monsieur Joly, you have to be social. For your workers, it's hard to work the soil. With the weed killers, they will have a better life. And this is true too. So I remember going in Bordeaux a few times, meeting, because Bordeaux have great terroir. I don't know if we will cover this, but they have completely lost the understanding of a vine, in good faith. But they were really saying, will we move into weed killers or not? It's terribly attractive. You just do a cheat, and it stays clean. Very tempting. I had a guy computing, you will gain, I don't know, 1,500 francs by hectare. So, and you know, trained in America, money is the big goal. Huh? So after that, the main risk for me was to lose the crop. That's the key. And you do it. You do it, you wish it will be fine. There was a lot of pressure on my parents saying, be careful, your son is destroying the place. So, and it takes time before you feel a bit of confidence.
I was going to ask you that. I mean, when you change, you probably have lost yields per hectare or whatever. And there must have been, at the time, must have had a cultural impact, not only on the vineyards, but on the environment around you.
Yes.
Other
Yes.
Other vignerons must have said, what is he doing?
This guy is crazy. Finally, you are destroying the official song, which is taken for the good song. This is the thing. And this is where fate is interesting. Why do you continue? What makes you sure that you need to continue? You have some secret information which slammed down, I don't know when, but secretly in you. And the first good, positive moment was Laloubi's Leroy, that was beginning of the 80s, maybe 84, I can't remember exactly. She was running Romanée Conti. She came, she understood women sometimes can understand things as a beautiful shortcut. We need us male to find out why. Women sometimes, they go right. They don't know why, but they don't care. This is very much linked to woman profile. And she caught it immediately. And suddenly, you know, Lalou Bis-Leroy was moving into biodynamic. And then you are not a sect. We were treated as a sect for 7 years. You see the power of the farming industry, huge. And we were not a sect anymore. And slowly you move ahead. In the cellar, it was not a huge change because it has changed a lot in the last 40 years. In the cellar, you were doing nothing. Most people in Bordeaux, once the crop was done and pressed, the juice was in the barrels, and they were going shooting for 2 months, coming back and the wine was still bubbling. So you realize that the teaching has been bringing people in an understanding where you have to act everything, control everything, and you are not told that you are destroying secretly the song that each place can create. So with Lalou, that became easy, and then few more people. You had, I was not alone in biodynamique. Jean-Pierre Frick in the south, another guy in Burgundy, I can't remember. Tu te souviens qui c'était, non? We are 3 or 4. You had in Italy Stefano Bellotti, who was a great guy. And it's just with time that we started to meet. And the more you are, the more you feel confident, the more it forces you to go more in depth in what you teach.
So, and what's the result of biodynamic in the winemaking process, I mean, in the cellar?
We are accustomed in this society in which we are to have an immediate result. It doesn't work like this. Things are more subtle. But if today you move in biodynamic, it's an important topic that we could move down after. You change a lot, but at that time, as I said, in the cellar, you were just looking at what was happening. The malolactic would come or wouldn't come. The fermentation could last 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, you didn't care. Now you want it to be done in 10 days, etc., etc. So you see that secretly 2 different ways were created. One where you would try to understand more in depth that fabulous system which convert in 6 months the tiny bud of a vine into a grape. You know, each 6 months, few tons of matter every year are coming on a vineyard. And after you have to prune and take it down, few tons. And the key point is to realize that more than 92%, if you take the water away, called dry matter, of these few tons of matter, in 6 months, 92% of what you have come from photosynthesis. This is the key. The soil is important, but the soil is 7-8. So you realize that something invisible is acting, so that through photosynthesis, what is photosynthesis? We should change that word. Photosynthesis doesn't talk. You could say that miracle of intangibles which become tangible. This is the key. You know, how something intangible will land into matter. That's where biodynamic is acting. Just 1 second. Bio is just supporting a system which you don't often understand, but that you respect. Biodynamic is a huge challenge. When Steiner gave biodynamic, he took you to the understanding of that invisible world which is bringing life to the planet Earth. You know, the Earth without its connection to the solar system is a dead body. Life is a gift to the Earth, to the planet Earth, from the connection. We say solar system, we could say also star system, but it's too difficult. But this is where you act. And I always tell, finally, what you do when you practice well biodynamics, because buy my wine, I mean biodynamics is also something which is not 100% wrong, which is 70% wrong. So still you have gained 30, yeah? But the key of biodynamics compared to organic is recreate an acoustic. That's extremely important.
What is biodynamic? It's a philosophy, it's a set of agricultural techniques, it's faith.
There is no scientific ground because we always, I mean, scientists always try to find the answer in matter. And I'm telling them, even with the most sophisticated instrument, if there is a cake made by a great chef that you like very much, you can put it under an electronic microscope. You will never find the chef. The chef is not in the cake. So let's move back to the chef. You know, it's exactly the same. So when you deal with intangibles, you have many rules, which we could cover. Number one, do the biodynamic preparation on your own place. I do respect that some people buy it because it's convenient to start. But when you understand what we call the 4 levels of matter, you know, how much heat, when does it come, how much light, what is the humidity, the rain, where are the winds, etc. These are what is the geology? These are the 4 levels of matter. With the 4 levels of matter, you have to increase, you could say, the reception process of the vine to these forces. This is where you make a vintage. And by the same token, this is where you destroy a vintage. Because if I cover quickly the huge destruction process which has been taught in university. First step, weed killers. You are not told that these weed killers are destroying the microorganisms of the soil. Second step, no growth. Don't worry, sir, use a chemical fertilizer, which is a soil, and it will have growth. Yes, you have growth, but this growth is through water. Too much water creates more disease. So the third step, bouillie bordelaise and sulfur doesn't work. Sir, there is a great progress. Don't be oldish. We have now these systemics. Fabulous progress for forbidding disease. Disaster for the originality of the place, because you are poisoning the sap, and as we said before, the sap is the organism which cuts the climate. What is the last step? The last step, you have a crop, it can be big, great, congratulations, I succeeded this year, I'm a great crop, yes, but by the same token, this crop doesn't carry any originality of your place. And that fourth drama, don't worry, sir, we know how to create an appealing taste. And you have all these studies, different for each country, to create a wine which is appealing through more than 320 aromatic yeast legally permitted, without mentioning anything to the consumer, which are totally destroying the beauty of an appellation. Who knows that today? How many sommeliers? It's a pity to see this fabulous sommelier being sincere. And I find a hint of this and a hint of, yes, sir, but it has nothing to do with an appellation. The first thing is to respect life. I mean, when you have done, and we could return after the tour, when you have done what would be good decisions to feed the end process, which is a grape, the key rule, when it is pressed, go on holidays. It is true. I mean, it's not fully true because you have to check that things are going on, and then you have to move a bit more in depth in the understandings of biodynamic preparation, but it is still true. And just look what happens. If you force a fermentation in 10 days, if you bring fat, which is not naturally in the wine, if you recreate through aromatic yeast some specific taste, if you control the temperature, I mean, fermentation is a fever. You should never, modern medicine asks you to fight fever. No, you have now many doctors who say don't fight fever. But that excess of heat permits to find a new balance. So that is a fever. And that fever is therefore a plus. So I remember sometimes the wine can go to 25, 26 degrees. Oh, don't do that, your crop will be destroyed. No, it's a fever, respect it. Now, it's true that if I live in a place where the climate is too warm, you could control a bit the temperature of the atmosphere, but let the fever happen. And then why do you have some fermentation which are fast, others which are long? We don't know, but respect it. There's certainly some reason. So finally, the first positive side of that modern farming, it was immensely profitable. Why was it immensely profitable? Because the so-called perfect wine was everywhere there. And Robert Parker, I say always, was an honest guy. He didn't realize that he was used by an industry. And therefore, it was presented to people, the perfect wine, as a great result. But I always mention aesthetical surgery creates a beauty which has no charm. I mean, you see that beauty, yes, but you don't want it. That's exactly what is happening with wine. And why was it immensely profitable? Because once you create 80% of the taste in the cellar, you can prune your vine much longer. You look at the evolution in the last 30 years of the yield by hectare. It's multiplied by 2 to 5, sometimes by 3. And then these wines were selling for a fortune thanks to the magazines, you know, and which, when you have interview with them now, they write half of what you tell, but they never mention aromatic yeast. I had one with the Wine Spectator, and another one with decanter. Nice article, good, etc. But you never talk about aromatic yeast because this is your job, this is your advertising, and you need it. So people were caught in a dead end. Where is the success of that new approach? Cheap labor, cheap land. You find now sometimes, with the same knowledge and the great flying winemaker of 30 years ago, that knowledge has spread all over the world, with wood taste, with fat, with concentration of the... Yes, it's a perfect wine. Yes, now you find it at 10 euro in a chain store. And the great names who should have avoided that, if you do them on a blind taste, are not so different. Number two, which is very important, the way to find if a wine is true or not, after a big blah blah, what do? Open the bottle, follow the wine for 10 days, bottom of a glass, recork, no fridge, nothing for taking the air away. When a wine is true, it improves. Oxidation is not a destruction. Oxidation is a stimulation for more life, because that wine has the capacity to fight oxidation, to fight death forces. And when I had a nice guy who came 2 years at home, one of the great Bordeaux, for an exchange which was polite but which led nowhere, because these guys are so much taken by technology that they cannot conceive life anymore. He dropped the bottle, which was extremely expensive, you know, 500 euro primeur, and said, make sure when you open that bottle that you drink it the same day. This is catastrophic. I mean, and he didn't realize, and he's a guy of good faith, he's sure he's doing the best, he's sure he's trying to do his best. But you really see how the teaching has been creating opposition and the beauty of nature being more and more misunderstood. So this is where we stand now. We will return a bit afterwards on what you should do to fully express a place. And on the other side, you have people who feel this, because you have to understand through your head, you have to understand through your heart. This is a very important factor. And through your will, because you need will. But you have some people moving in this direction, their minds through the teaching distorted by the teaching we talked about, which doesn't take you in the right direction, and they don't achieve immediately a good result, but follow these wines on 3-4 days. I remember a guy from Georgia that we followed. Sometimes, you know, you taste, yes, no, you're not sure. Take it back 4 days later. Oh, yes, the wine is there. So you have a period of time for a young wine grower where things are changing, but it's like a camera which is not fully focused. And suddenly you see an image which is well focused. And so give them a chance. On these groups, you know, we have 2 groups, the one that we have today and another one which is done by my daughter and a few friends, Grande Saint-Jean once a year. There is a chance given to young wine grower for one. Sometimes the wine is not really there, but okay, you are here for 1 year. See if you do it best next year. You are not sure to be there next year, so you have to help them a bit because it's difficult to find yourself, you know. And you have 3 criteria. I always say that it's very important. Exactly like for music, you have the musician, you have the acoustic, and you have the quality of the musical instrument. You have some people who have got Stradivarius, who are very poor musicians. You have people who have just cheap violin you can find on a flea market, but who are fabulous wine. And it's good to know this when you taste the wine and to see what comes out.
Do you consider that the environment, the biodynamics itself as a system has evolved since you began, or is still pretty much the same? And do you think that people, consumers, are more open to this sort of...
First, the consumer. When you see that there is less, I had a group from Japanese at home recently, but young people are not attracted by wines anymore. They drink less. I mean, aesthetical surgery creates less attraction. And if you return to a true taste, I assure you that many people will be caught by that secret life which is affecting you at your plexus. As biodynamic change, what Steiner did in all his teaching, because it's in medicine, it's in the social balance, it's in economics, he has been touching many fields, is just giving indications, and it's your decision to put them in practice. I brought here a book from Hugo Herbe, E-R-B-E. I could give it to you if you want. It's in French. Huh? I had it translated from England, where, and it takes us more in depth in biodynamic, where he came up with 10 or 15 other biodynamic preparations. It doesn't put back in question what Steiner has done because he did it at a higher level. But thinking this over, using some of them, which we do a bit, is a way of helping more the result, the acoustic that you want to create. Now, if you want to move in biodynamic, you can't say it has changed, but you could tell that the system which brings life to Earth is much weaker than before. You are probably not allowed to say that anymore, but it is. Why? When we said before that life is a gift from the solar system and stellar system to the planet Earth, how does it work? We receive the sun in the morning, great satisfaction. How does it work? It's called cosmic wavelengths. These cosmic wavelengths are essential. By what are they affected? Not by the CO2. The CO2 is a tiny thing. They are affected by the huge pollution from thousands and thousands of satellites, which for our comfort, GPS, etc., create an easy life. But all these are also frequencies which are slowing down, decreasing the link of the solar system with the planet Earth. This is the key today. This is the key, and you're almost not allowed to talk about it. I saw recently, Virginie told me, some scientists which worked on the magnetism of the Earth, and they start to realize that something is wrong. Now, we know this answer. When the planet Earth cannot find enough life forces from its connection to the solar system, it is changing its polarity. And on very long cycles, because when you drill in the ice, you have the answers for thousands and thousands of years. We know that inversions of the magnetic polarity of the Earth happened already, I think, more than 200 times. So what we call the climatic change with two absurd decisions, CO2 number one and electricity number two. Electricity is a murder of the planet Earth. It's an underforce, very negative, and it's presented as a solution. Stupid. And therefore, when I saw in the last years, even this year, my pear tree flowering in October, it's a second spring. And this is an indication that we are moving slowly toward an inversion of the polarity, of the magnetic polarities of the Earth. It's a huge problem. You have a prophecy where they say the year with the two spring. What it means that if you have a total inversion of the polarities, on one hemisphere you have two winter, on the other you have two spring. We are talking of the system which permits human being to feed itself. That's what we talk about. And the huge power of this agricultural industry want to keep this quiet. They don't want that information to come out. And the control of the press is going in that direction. Again, fate, you don't know what your life is about. I know that in moving in this direction, I am achieving a little bit the life that I wanted to achieve before birth. Because, you know, again, you have many things to tell, but you have an entry and you have an exit. Actually, the exit is an entry to something much more beautiful than life on Earth, but it's rarely discussed. But the more you are close to oneself, the more you understand things, the more you want to talk about it. I don't ask people to believe it. I ask people to open their mind. Steiner did that on a huge level. And it's incredible to see that Steiner is often presented as an enemy, you know. He was a huge help for those who want to move in this direction. And you have more and more of these guys in farming, but in medicine too. Medicine, and now Veleda was, still is, but in France they went bankrupt by great mistakes. But when you see the knowledge which is behind the plant, behind mineral, with Veleda, for curing people, when something is wrong, you just recreate a connection. You don't forbid it or impose something else which is presented as an improvement, and it could be life-wise, but it's also a debt. So this is where it's much easier in farming. But in farming, we have to cover this. What should you do? Number one, understand minerality, plants, animals, human being, 9 other levels on top, which are never discussed, which I find very important personally. Now, one has to understand that for a plant, the realm of animal is an upper world, like an angel for us. So the danger of being a wine grower is monoculture. Monoculture is the same, and I take often that example. If I ask someone, what is your best dish? And if I serve that best dish every day, after 10 days, say, please stop it, I don't want it anymore. This is monoculture. As a wine grower, when you have monoculture, what can you do to balance that situation? That's very important. And you can do several things. You can bring the level of animal. Number one, recreate a landscape. Of course, if your hectare is worth 1.5 million or more, you won't do it. But keeping parts of your estate with fields is important. And recreate here and there a landscape. I remember Stefano Bellotti planting in 1 hectare of vine few olive tree, which is a great, and few almond tree, which is also great. They are also great friends of the vines. The appellation was forbidden to him. Monsieur, you haven't got a monoculture anymore, so you have not the right to pretend that you are an appellation contrôlée. What is this absurd world in which we are dying, all of us? So important to understand it. Important too to understand the 4 main kinds of animals, as you have 4 levels of matter. Those linked to the earth, a pig or wild boar, digging to find the food. And then the cow, linked to water, huge capacity for creating milk. And then animals linked to light, like sheep or goats. It's interesting to see, we have few goats at home. They don't drink even when it's extremely hot. They drink very, very little. They are linked to light. They are not linked to water. So fabulous forces for the flowering of the vines. And then on top, you have the heat process, which you can find with the horse. When you go against the will of a horse, he will stand up. Go against the will of a cow, it will come down. So let's rediscover this, and that experiment could be made. Divide 1 hectare or 2 hectares in biodynamic in 4 bits. Do the same. Just bring manure for pig, manure from cow, manure from goat, and manure from horses. The taste will be different. So you will realize that you have been connecting your place, your vine, to different forces. And then that it affects the taste of the wine. This is where the wine should go. This is where an appellation contrôlée should go. This is the only solution. And this creates a creativity too. So you could push it much further. Yeah.
No machines. No machine.
Yeah, I have nothing against the machine. I have nothing against the machine, not for the harvest. It's exactly like for breeding. At home I have 10 cows. It's easy, and we always leave the young ones with the milk of the mother. But if you have to live out of it, it's more difficult. But we need a bit of machines, but when you see the connection of a human being to animals, like most old farmers knew, the quality of the animal is different. The expression of an animal is different, more than number 1, number 2, etc. Go and give your milk. So you could say that profits have been, we need profits, but profit at too high level have been directing humanity towards a dead end. And that dead end creates a food which is not carrying life forces anymore. And a human being without life forces becomes a complete materialist. And it brings also disease, etc. But it's important to respect your own feeling. When do you do a treatment? How many times do you do it? Do them on Virginie is very good for doing the biodynamic preparation. Have your own, and because we are told that what you do with animal is a drama. One guy who is almost at the head of biodynamic in the Gotteanum said, I won't talk about it, I don't want to go to court. My friend, you haven't got the right seat. You need to talk about it, to explain what is a part of an animal, how beautiful it is to each kind of animal to use when the death time has come, their organs as a plus for feeding human beings. So we are in a period of time where things are less working well, but we have to tell the new generation, some of the young people are extraordinary people, born on us with a huge potential. These we have to respect. These we have to help. I don't intend to make any kind of wine. I intend to understand my place and to give a full potential to my vines to express themselves at best with that sensibility that they have for a place. Which means avoid that stupid clone, which is one single foot multiplied by 100 million. Stupid idiot. Number two, find a root part which goes downward, because you have an opposition with the gravitation, that's Dionysos, and sun attraction, which is Apollo. That's why Christianity took back these two, and it's extremely right, to back these two extremes, you know. The key question would be that we discuss always with Virginie and his brother, when should we harvest? I'm sometimes a bit too much on one side. But I overdid it, but I was harvesting at a point of time with too much maturity. But the key rule, don't cut a flower before it is opening, otherwise you don't know that it is a flower. So don't harvest because the grape is ready. What does it mean? Maybe you have 1 point or 2 points of alcohol more. You just don't care. You want the expression of the spot to be fully achieved. And if you are not a large producer, and I give an advice to many people not to become a too large producer, because you have constraints, you have to do a lot of blah blah, you have to travel to sell your wine. No, remain small. And when it's ready, and we always agree when it's ready, you taste it, you see, you don't need analysis, you know. You are the one who can feel instead think, yes. So when it's ready, you cut it. If you have a real massal selection, you need 3-4 harvests. But true and untrue, for the first time this year, first time in 42, 45 years, we are harvesting in one shot. The grape was fully ready, all of them. And the leaves were green. I've never seen this in 42 years, never. So there are things that we still don't understand. But then, pressed, just stay behind and accept what is going on. Sometimes the grape will be, the fermentation will stop 6 months later or 2 months later. It's not your job. Trust your place.
So you can say that in biodynamic, it takes more than 40 years to take perfection.
I think you never reach perfection. Yeah. But in biodynamic, you could say that every year is a learning process, which is very interesting. And the knowledge is not something which is fixed. The knowledge is, we could conclude by saying biodynamic is an art. I wrote an article that I could send you for this. Biodynamic is an art, the art of expressing invisible balance. Yeah.
Nowadays, there's a strong controversial on alcohol and its effects on health. So, what do you feel about it?
I feel that evil forces are taking over good forces. all over Europe. It's like if the idea of Europe is to destroy the individuality of each country on purpose. I feel that Europe wants to create human beings as being similar and all of them having no more freedom. I think creativity is totally destroyed on purpose because it's time for these evil forces to take over. I think that it's stupid to talk of alcohol without what is around it. Most sommeliers, when you do a blind tasting on a wine which is 14, we tell you it is 12 because you don't feel that alcohol. I think we are going in terrible directions on purpose. I think intellectuality has been taking over good common sense and as a huge destructive process. But I think there is still certainly a possibility for being faithful to yourself, for being faithful to the deepness of biodynamics, for being faithful to the deepness of anthroposophy, which is the same in other fields. And this is the only noble exit for humanity. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your questions. They're very good.